Dan Campbell is very impressed with Marcus Davenport at the outset of training camp here in 2025, and he honestly believes that Davenport can be a monster inside this defense here in 2025, and he said as much in a private interview yesterday at Allen Park. Now, this is partly due because of Davenport's work ethic as well as a rehab program that he stayed in Allen Park over the offseason to complete, which obviously has given Dan Campbell and Brad, all the confidence in the world. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to take you to that interview right now, and then we'll be right back to discuss why Marcus Davenport is going to be successful here in 2025.
Two-time defending NFC North champions back at work, just wrapped up practice number 3. Their head coach, Dan Campbell, kind enough to join us right now. Practice number 3, my friend. You got a long way to go in this whole journey, right? And you love every bit of it.
Yeah, no doubt. Good to see you guys.
Great to see you,
Coach.
Yeah, number 3. Hard to believe. Number 3 of year 5, and just excited to get back on the grass, I mean, spring, there is no spring anymore. It doesn't exist, You can't do anything, so it's just good to get back to football and doing it the way that, you believe in.
For the listeners out there, he's got a Lions shirt on that says salty on it. And, Coach, I thought it was so appropriate because your team was salty out there at practice day. You had the whistle on. You were refereeing. You were the get-back coach part of the time. You called the team up and said, hey, take it down a notch a little bit. You were a little bit salty living up to your shirt today, Coach.
Well, look, our guys, I love the way our guys practice, man. They do it right. But every once in a while, you just got to you got to be the referee. You got to set the rules of engagement. And so, that's what you do, right? You do a little bit of everything, but it's all good.
How does it feel? We had him on earlier in the show to look out there and see 97, Aiden Hutchinson running around playing football again after losing him for much of last season with an injury.
Well, that in itself feels really good. You talk about a sight for sore eyes. And then just when you think you can't feel any better, you see Davenport on the other side, and I know it's only 3 days, but, boy, he looks good too. But to be able to get Hutch back, he looks confident. He looks healthy. He actually looks like he's been even better than last year. And I know he's hungry. He's going to be hungry all the time.
Sure.
But, you get a different perspective when the game is taken away from you for injury for a year. And, if you thought you had drive before, it really puts the drive in you. So that's where Hutch is at. He's a pro. He's ready to go.
And we asked Hutch about it, and you just brought up his name as Marcus Davenport. And I was joking with Brad Holmes earlier. The talk is, edge rusher. They need edge rusher. Maybe he's here. Maybe it is Marcus Davenport. Maybe it is other guys stepping up too, but a little bit on Davenport because this guy was a high draft pick for a reason. This guy's been around the league, and here he is on your team, and maybe he's a name that nobody's talking about enough.
Yeah, no doubt. And, I've known Davenport a while now. We got him in New Orleans. Yep. We drafted him. And here's what I do know, and I think we all know this. And it's not always in your hands, and that's just, listen, that's the name of the game, and that's circumstances. That's the way it goes. But if he does stay healthy, oh, yeah, he can do it. There's no question. He's going to give us everything we're looking for and then some on the other side of Hutch. So what I know is he's put everything into coming back, being stronger, being more stable, do everything he can to reduce that risk of injury. Look, and injuries happen all the time, but if it does, it does. But I love where he's at. We're fired up. I think our defense looks really good. There again, we're not in pads, but I like where we're at day 3.
Well, there you go. You heard it from the coach himself, man, how excited he is for Marcus Davenport. Quote, he's going to give us, everything that he can, but so much more on the other side than what they're looking for, right? So much more than what they're looking for. And that's a lot. And for all of the fans out there that complain about not having another edge on the other side of Aiden, well, he was signed a long time ago. I get that a lot of people don't understand Marcus Davenport and they don't understand the injury component to the game. But let's just be honest here. When Marcus Davenport has the season that he's about to have, the I told you so is going to feel so good. I'm just telling you. But I want to dive into Davenport's interview. And the reason why is the Lions are hoping that Davenport can regain his form from 2021, which is really the last season that he kind of exploded. He had 9 sacks in 11 games for the Saints. And he's going to get a ton of opportunities this year with Aiden Hutchinson on the other side. And both of those guys are going to be creating a nightmare situation for quarterbacks, quite simply like they did in the Rams game to open the season last year. But let's get into Marcus Davenport in his interview. It's kind of awkward, but we're going to talk about it.
That's going to be a hard question. You know, that's a day-to-day thing. You know, I don't know. I feel better.
I guess, are you where you hope to be or wanted to be at this point in your return?
I really wanted to be perfect.
Yes.
But, you know, I can say with the work we've been doing, I feel good.
Okay, so right away with the first 2 questions, right? He was asked, you know, are you feeling yourself? Do you feel like, you know, you're confident in where you are in your return? He feels better, right? He says, I wish that I was perfect, and I wish I knew what he meant there, but maybe he means that he is still dealing with some lingering effects of the surgery or the injury, and he's just not 100% of where he thought he was going to be at this time. It was a long time ago, you know, that he suffered that injury. I mean, about 9 months ago. So he should be fully healed by now. It's a pretty gruesome injury. I mean, anytime you have a muscle torn away from the bone, it's a pretty gruesome injury. But anyway, he's feeling good. He looks good. I mean, honestly, when you look at his picture from this year to last year, or the video from this year to last year, he looks like he's in much better shape. If you remember when he walked over the podium, when the Lions brought him in, he had a lot more what appeared to be like baby fat on him, is what I would call it. But he looked thicker, right? Now he looks slimmer, like he's almost toned up and ready to rock and roll. So let's get into the rest of the interview.
The number one question, I think, for fans in this town is, when is the team going to add a big pass rusher outside of Aiden Hutchinson? Are you that answer that people have forgotten about in this town and across football?
Forgotten about. Yeah. What's the word? I mean, honestly, if y'all looking for someone, don't look at me. Just let me be me. I'm going to go out there and try to stay healthy and do what I can.
Okay, so to go through this third question here, he says, you know, or the question is, you were forgotten about. Like, are you the other player on the other side of Aiden? And, you know, are you the player that fans have forgotten about? Because, you know, they're constantly asking about who, right? They're constantly bringing up Zadarius Smith. They're constantly bringing up, you know, or slamming Brad Holmes for not drafting another edge high in the draft, right, in the first, second round. And, I mean, I don't think that anybody could forget that Marcus Davenport is on this team. So I don't really understand that question per se. But look, this guy enters 25 with a huge chip on his shoulder. And after missing so much time due to injury, I mean, Dan Campbell said the same thing. Like, these guys are going to be hungry, man. Like, you've got this emphasis now, you know, behind you to do more, right? To get ready for this next season and put that chip high up on that shoulder, because he's going to have to use some of the criticisms that he's faced over the last 2 years because of all those injuries that he's suffered. He's using it as fuel, right? All these fans that are just trashing him for whatever reason, that's going to be fuel now. And I hope he uses all of it. But clearly Davenport doesn't like the question, and he's sick of the beratement. I would be too. And it's not like he wants to have these injuries happen. He's fought his way back from every single one. And I think that says something more than anything else. I think that it's proving that he can get himself back, you know, healthy and ready to go for the season and ready to win for this team. And honestly, I hope he pisses in the face of all of the doubters that have called into question, you know, Davenport and his ability to play the game. And when this season gets rolling, especially for all of the fake, you know, fans and the frauds out there that are going to be celebrating all the big plays that Davenport makes, those are the faces that I really hope he pisses in. But you're also the fans that don't deserve it at all. Just saying. Yeah, I'm a little salty about it too. Let's get into the next question.
What do you mean by that? Don't look at me.
What's the word? I don't know. I don't really like it when people talk about me anymore, good or bad, you know. Shoot, I got to hold a chip on my shoulder, and then with every good thing, shoot, the next day, people be coming at me anyway, so if people can leave me alone and let me just work, I'll be happy.
You heard him. Like, just leave the dude alone. He's had enough of the hate. He just wants to be left alone to do his work and provide for this team, right? And by the way, Marcus, I'm sorry because, like you said, good or bad, this is good. You don't like anyone talking about you, but I've always been a supporter, and I'm just going to apologize up front. So he just wants to play football, man, and doesn't want any of your drama-filled rants on social media or YouTube or anywhere else. And I mean, honestly, they're mostly laughable anyway. When you think about it, they come from people that really don't have a clue about the game of football. They don't have a clue how this team is being run or built, and they just run their yap, right? Or twist their fingers on a keyboard. And honestly, I think the more support that he gets, the better he will do. And that's why it is important that, you know, the more the more hate that you print or record about him, I think it's more likely to affect him negatively. But the more support he gets, I think he's going to do better. I thought that we wanted this team to win. Am I wrong? So why not, instead of, you know, handing out your pathetic, selfish, click-worthy, bull crap on YouTube or you know, your social media platform, how about we help the team win by being positive, right? Why don't we give positive energy? There's nothing wrong with being critical, right? But there's a way different perspective when you're just hateful and spiteful and angry and trash talking and that's way out of line. It's way different. Just let the guy go to work, man.
Confident are you about
Question
the
5.
ability to produce this year with yourself included in that mix?
Very confident. I would say last year, you know, we did very well for a lot of injuries, and this year we're just building off of that.
I don't think that I need to recap what happened last year. Last year's done. It's put in that box and it's over with, right? Everyone saw what that defense did and how they performed at a very high level week after week after week to pull off 15 wins. Now imagine 2 premier pass rushers, you know, healthy for an entire season. And honestly, a very experienced set of backups now. When you think about it, they're going to be able to give the starters a rest without the fall off in pressure or play. And that's huge for this team. I think everyone's undervaluing the fact that our depth on the roster is much better, much deeper, knowledge-wise and experience-wise than the majority of teams out there. So let's get into question 6.
How has Aiden looked to you so far, just playing opposite of him?
Man, he's that guy. He looks phenomenal. You know, we be trying to talk through like certain movements and plays, and you know, it's hard when he's so, like, I would say, fluid. Where I think I'm more rigid, and you know, sure, you know, we bounce ideas off each other, but then again, we just got to keep developing our own games.
Okay, so this was a different kind of an answer that I expected, but he was kind of asked, you know, what it's like to play across from Aiden, or, you know, to finally be on the same field with Aiden. He really couldn't understand the full question, but it was good news, you know, for him to say that Aiden's looking good, you know, quote, he's that guy, which I think that we all know that. We have not heard a ton about Aiden yet. I do have another video coming out that is about that, though. We have heard some things about Aiden. Not everybody has if you don't have the right subscriptions, but Davenport did mention that Hutchinson can sometimes be a calming voice for him in another publication, in another interview. And especially when they're working on a play, like at the line of scrimmage, or, kind of like he said, you know, kicking ideas back and forth or bouncing ideas back and forth. And here's what he said about, you know, him and Aiden working together this season. He said, quote, "Shoot, sometimes I overcomplicate things." And he just simplifies it like, "Hey man, it's just this." And sometimes mid-play, I'm trying to talk to him and we're giving signals and I'm like, okay, you're right. Or, you know, I get it, end quote. So this is a good relationship, you know, between Aiden and Davenport. You kind of have the veteran listening to the younger veteran, which is Aiden, and wanting to learn and do things the right way. It really speaks volumes to the type of player and teammate that Davenport is. I mean, he's not coming back, you know, angry at anybody but himself, right? He wants to learn. He's been out of the system, and he wants to learn the system so that he can benefit this team. All right, let's get into question 7.
You said yesterday that you're one of the best edge rushers that he's ever worked with. How do you feel like you guys complement each other?
Interesting. I don't know yet. You know, honestly, that's a everyday coming to work and finding out kind of thing. But, you know, I try to watch him and get what I can and then do me.
Again, if you haven't figured it out by now, Davenport believes in himself. the do me, when he says things like that, I don't think people need to take it as it's negative. But it was a nice compliment. If I understood the question of the statement right, it was a nice compliment from Aiden when he said that he's one of the best, pressure edges that he's played with ever. I mean, that's a great compliment. But when Davenport said that he doesn't know how Aiden and he can kind of complement each other, and again, like I said, he says the do me thing. Davenport has missed 28 games in 2 seasons. How is he supposed to know how he can complement Aiden or how Aiden can complement him if he's only played 2 games with Aiden? It's extremely short or small sample, right? It's a very raw relationship on the field that is still progressing. I mean, the only thing that I can point back to is this. That full game that they did play last season, opening up against the Rams, both of them had 4 quarterback hits and a sack. So combined 8 quarterback hits and 2 sacks in that game. If they can get that kind of production early, imagine what they can do throughout an entire season, and this will be the second, training camp that they've gone, through, or with each other, I should say. The do me statement again, look, I don't feel like this is meant to be negative. I think that I guess I feel like there's a lot of work to be done, and he knows that. And he's trying to just say that he doesn't know if he can compliment Aiden because he doesn't want to draw the comparisons. I feel like he just he wants to avoid pressure, I guess is where I'm going with this. Once he's playing at a high level, right, and he stays healthy, you get through a few weeks, and he might open up and start to say, this is what we did together. This is how we were complimenting each other on the field. But the sample size, again, it's just too small. And I think that the answer, it really kind of blends back to the previous question that he was asked when he said they need to continue developing their own games. I'm getting the sense that maybe Davenport doesn't like these comparisons or the ideas that are being presented by the fans or the media between himself and Aiden. They're different players. They're different styles. And Aiden is more finesse and flashy. Davenport is more of that can crusher and that pocket collapser. So he's just not that big bend, speed corner kind of guy. He's the bull rush, the power guy, the pocket crusher, if you will. I see sometimes fans don't understand that either. And these comparisons kind of get to players because each one of these guys does their own thing. Let's get into question 8.
You were a first-round pick. You had a 9-sack season in the NFL, but in some ways, do you feel forgotten about, and is that part of the chip on your shoulder that you just referenced?
Forgotten about? Man, all these injuries. Shoot, I see a picture posted about me. I repost it, and I get all these comments. I don't even want to say forgotten about. I know you can't really have relevance without, being available. And so that is what that is. Right now I just got to do my day-to-day thing and let my work speak.
I love that answer, man. Let my work speak. And I don't understand, though, the constant asking him about being forgotten about. No relevance without availability. I love that statement, too. Right? The best ability is availability. He understands that there's no room to talk right now until that he can prove himself again to himself, right? That's the only person he has to show it to. Let his work speak. That's the right attitude to have, man. I love it. All right, let's get into one of the last questions here.
How deep is your desire to be available for 17 games this season?
I'm trying to be available every day, The games will come. If I take care of my days, then I'll be fine.
All right, this question is kind of odd, right? I mean, he's obviously wanting to stay hungry. He's unsettled. He's driven. He's focused. He's focused on the prize, man. He wants to be available every day. He wants to win football games. He wants to play in all of them. He wants to be a contributor. But he's just going to let the chips fall where they may. All right, let's get to this last question. I see it's trying to beat me.
You had a chance to break down the huddle today, and I assume that was a nod to some plays you made in practice today. Did that feel like a reward for a good day's work for you?
I really can't take rewards. If I do, I don't want to say bad things happen, but, hey, keep my chip.
All right, so, look, there's a lot in there you can digest. One, I would say that Davenport doesn't look very comfortable. He doesn't appear like he likes interviews at all. He's clearly sick and tired of, like I said earlier, the beratement and the feeling that the fan base is just against him for whatever reason. Well, I can tell you, Marcus, there's a lot of us that have your back, man. There's a lot of us that feel like you're going to do great things for this team. Yeah, you need to stay healthy. So does everybody else. I do too. And I loved his answer, about wanting to play in 17 games. And he says he's trying to be available every day. That's every day, right? That's not every day of the season. It's 365 days around the clock. So I thought that was a great answer. I think that he's a lot smarter than what people are giving him credit to be. I think he's a pretty smart dude. He's a pretty smart football player. Look, my final take on this whole thing is I think that he has the skill to be dominant. We've seen it. He's been dominant, for those of you that get caught up in sack numbers. Let me tell you something, man. That is 1/20th of the evaluation of a defensive end and how good they are or are not. Matter of fact, I know that most coaches would rather have or prefer a guy plays with sound technique, plays within the scheme, adds value to the locker room, displays intelligence, in the game, and does his job to eliminate mistakes. And when you eliminate the mistakes, you can start making plays when plays are available to be made. It's not about one overall stat in a line of stats. It's also about the stats that don't even show up on the box score, right? And the time that you're helping the guys to your left or to your right get the stats, right? They're the ones that are winning in the stat sheet. But the coaches see more than that, right? They watch the game tape and they can see, all right, you see how he was able to take on those 2 blocks and that allowed Lee McNeil or that allowed, Mekhi Wingo or Josh Paschal or Tyleek Williams to get free, right? Or that allowed Jack Campbell to, slide through the B gap and get after the quarterback, whatever, right? Whatever he's doing in game, it's just not about one thing. It's about what Davenport has done and will be able to do again, which is play at a high level. And honestly, I think to kind of give you some ideas of where he is right now, Davenport has really stolen the show in training camp already, especially Monday. It was just the second day of camp, and Davenport, in my opinion, he's kind of taken up yoga class in the backfield, where he's consistently back there disrupting a number of plays and getting after Jared Goff all morning long. It was reported that he created at least 2 sacks and a couple of TFLs in that first practice on Monday. He's off to a great start. Look, the pads come on, in practice later on this week, and then that's when the competition is going to start to show itself. That's when the battles up front are going to begin. The Lions are confident that a healthy Davenport and a healthy Aiden Hutchinson will win their fair share of those battles. Together and separately, Marcus Davenport is going to be a great addition to this team once again. Let's give the guy a little bit of a break. That's it. We'll see you guys in the next one. Take care.